Okay, guys, this is lesson 16, and we're going to start talking about rate of change and slope. I know you've heard those terms before. The rate of change is a ratio that shows how one variable changes with respect to another. On a linear graph, or on a graph with a line like you see here, the rate of change is called the slope of the line. And I'll take it a step further and say that anytime you see these words, rate of change, I want you to replace them with the word slope, because it is the same thing, and slope is easier for us to kind of comprehend than rate of change. Slope is always written as a ratio or a fraction of the vertical change. Vertical is up and down. Oh, that must be the rise. I know you've heard that before. To the horizontal change, left and right, which is the run. Okay, rise over run. This remains constant for any 2 points on the same line. The slope is constant between any 2 points, meaning it doesn't change. Slope is always written as a fraction. There's that ratio written as a fraction in simplest form. So if you can simplify, then always do, even if you could take it down to a whole number. The variable that we use for slope, because we use x's and y's a lot, but not for slope. For slope, we're going to use the variable m. So when you see m, just know that that stands for slope. There are different types of slope. A positive slope means that the line, as you look at it from left to right, is going up. So for example, this problem, when we get to it, that will have a positive slope. Well, the opposite of that would be a negative slope. Negative slope, when you look at it from left to right, the line is going down. In this example, I know the slope is negative. We'll find the exact slope in a second, but what I do know already is that the slope of this line is positive, and the slope of this line is going to be a negative number. Well, we got some other cases, and these are the ones that are kind of hard to remember. This one has a slope of 0. So here's some ways to kind of remember this. I'm going to back up to the positive slope. If I'm walking on this, I'm going uphill. That's positive. If I'm walking on this line, I'm going downhill. That's negative. If I'm walking on this line, well, I can go back and forth all day long, which means that this slope of this line is the number 0. 0 is a number, just like any other number. This one is possible. This is a horizontal line. It has a slope of 0. So anytime you see a horizontal line, just know automatically the slope is 0. Now the other line that we can draw is a vertical line. Now, unless I am Spider-Man, I cannot walk on that line. I would fall into oblivion, which means that the slope of this line is undefined. So this is the one that it's not possible to walk on this line. Therefore, the slope is undefined. That's a vertical line. Horizontal lines has a slope of 0, negative, positive. So if I want to find the slope of this line here, I already know it's going to be a positive number. And it looks like I'm given a point here and a point here. And remember this rise over run? So to find the slope, if you're given a graph, the easiest way is to simply count spaces. Now, always be conscious of the direction you're traveling, because some directions are positive and some directions are negative. And if you just count spaces without thinking about which direction you're traveling, you might make a sign error. So I'm going to start here with the point farthest to the left. That's just a little trick that I use, and I need to get to this one. So I'm going to do my rise number first. So the first way I'm going to travel is either up or down, whichever would take me closer to this point, which obviously would be up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I went up 7. all the way to here, and now I have to go over 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I go up 7, I'm going to record that as my rise number, and then I'm going to start counting all over again from here. 1, so I'm starting right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I went up 7, and I went over 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's my slope, and I can't simplify that, so that's it. Let's look at number 2. I already know my slope's going to be negative, so let's see how we get that negative number. Here's a point here, and here's a point here. My little trick is I'm always going to start with the point farthest to the left, over here. So I got to find my rise number, which is up or down. In this case, it's going to be down. 1, 2, 3. I went down 3. And since I went down, that's the negative direction, so that would give me the negative 3. Now I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm going over 9. So see how I go down and then make a 90-degree turn and go that way? So my rise number was negative 3, and my run number was positive 9 because I'm going to the right. Down is negative, to the right is positive. Now I need to simplify this. These are both divisible by 3. So I'm going to divide these by 3 and get negative 1 over 3. Here's a line here. This line here, here's 2 points. Well, wait a minute, this is horizontal. Don't I automatically know that a horizontal line has a slope of 0? That's right. You know what I should have been doing is saying these equal m, because that's the variable that represents slope. Let's talk about this one. This line goes, oh, it's vertical. Well, it's automatic. If it's vertical, it's undefined. The slope is undefined. Put through maybe a couple more. So these are all the ways you can find, or this is the way that you find the slope if you're given the graph. Let's look at this one. Here's a point here and a point here. Starting with the point farthest to the left, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3. And I can't simplify that, so that's my answer. Let's look at 6. Starting with the point farthest to the left, I have to go up or down first. So I'm going to go down until I get even with the other point and make a 90-degree turn. I went down 1, 2, 3. Since I went down, it's negative, and then I'm going over just 1. This simplifies. This will actually simplify to be a whole number, or an integer, I mean. M is negative 3. The slope is negative 3. So just count spaces, rise over run, if you're given the graph. Now, what if you're not given a graph, but you're given 2 ordered pairs? So like an example here, it says find the slope between this pair of points. There's a formula. You probably remember it. The slope is equal to y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So what do these stand for? Well, x1 and y1 stands for one of the ordered pairs, and x2 and y2 stand for one of the other ordered pairs. So to put it in other terms, find your 2 y numbers and subtract them, and that's going to go on top of the fraction. Then find your 2 x numbers and subtract them, and that goes on the bottom of the fraction. So my slope would be this y number, 3. Remember, every ordered pair is in the form of x and y. So find your 2 y numbers would be 3 and 1. I'm going to put my y numbers on top, not the x numbers. You got to be careful. And then my x numbers on bottom. 4 and 1, I'm going to subtract those. 3 minus 1 is 2, and 4 minus 1 is 3, and that right there would be my slope, because I can't reduce that any further. Let's look at number 2. My y numbers, negative 2, take away 4, over 10, take away then the negative 2. You have to be careful here because students tend to make sign errors. It's not 10 minus 2, it's 10 minus negative 2, which means that this is going to become an addition. So negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6, and 10 plus 2 is 12, and I need to simplify that. These can both be simplified by 6. So I would get negative 6 divided by 6 is 1, and 12 divided by 6 is 2. Okay? All right, let's look at another one here. Let's look at 5. My two y numbers, 9 minus 9 and 3 minus 5, y minus y over x minus x. So 9 minus 9 is 0, and 3 minus 5 is negative 2. And well, wait a minute. 0 divided by negative 2 is just 0. So my slope is 0. Well, what does that mean? Wait a minute. Remember the special cases. If your slope was 0, that must mean this is a horizontal line. Let's look at number 6. Y minus y. So 5 minus 8 over x minus x. Negative 7. Take away this negative 7. Well, that's negative 3, and negative 7 take away. Oh, remember when you have two negative signs right next to each other without anything in between, they become a plus. So negative 7 plus 7 is 0. Negative 3 over 0. If I push that in a calculator, let's just see what it says. 3 negative divided by 0. It gives me an error message. Do you know why? Because division by 0 is not possible. So if it's not possible, what does that mean? Well, it means that the slope in this case is undefined, which means that this must be a vertical line. So if the slope is 0, it's a horizontal line. If the slope is undefined, it's a vertical line. Now I want you to take a look at these two fractions here, because I'm going to show you a trick. Because some students will say this equals 0, and it does not. It's undefined. So I'm going to show you something. If you get a 0 on top of the fraction, that is okay, because that equals 0. See, if you get a 0 on top of the fraction, that equals 0. That's the slope, 0, which means that this would be a horizontal line. Now, if you get a 0 on the bottom of the fraction, that is not okay. So I'm using these O's to represent zeros. This is undefined, which means that it's a vertical line. Okay, you get a 0 on top, that is okay, that equals 0. If you get a 0 on the bottom, that is not okay, that's undefined. Okay. All right, let's see. Let's look at number 11. We'll work one more of these. Y number, negative 2, take away this y number, which is negative 9, so that's going to become addition. And 3, take away 5, gives me, well, these turns into pluses, so negative 2 plus 9 is 7, and 3 minus 5 is negative 2. And that can't be reduced. However, I would say clean this up. When we write these answers with a negative sign in the bottom, sometimes, most oftentimes, you will not see it with the negative sign in the denominator. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kick the negative sign, just the sign, to the top. So this would become negative 7 over 2. That's the slope. All right? Okay. Now we're going to work backwards. These are going to be the hardest ones. Sometimes you have to complete the ordered pair using the given slope. So if the slope of the line passes through the points negative 5, 6, and 5 with a missing y number, and the slope is negative 4/5, find y. So let's look at this. Well, remember the formula was y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we are given a lot of this information. We're given an x number, a y number, and another x number, and we're also given the slope. The only thing we're missing here is the y2 number. We're missing the y2 number. But all of these other numbers I have. So I can fill those in and let's see what it looks like. So m is -4/5. y2 is missing, so I'm just going to leave that as y. Minus y1, which was 6, all over x2, I have that number, that's 5, minus x1, which is -5, so this is going to become addition. So if I clean this up, I'm going to have -4 over 5 equals y minus 6 over 10. This looks a lot like the proportions we were doing 2 weeks ago. The butterfly, remember? So -4 times 10 is -40, and that equals this way, 5 times y minus 6. And now I have an equation I can solve for y and find that missing number. So I'm going to distribute. 5 times y is 5y, and 5 times -6 is -30. Solving for y, I'm going to add 30 to both sides. And I'm left with -10 equals 5y. When I divide by 5, I get -2 is equal to y, and there's my missing number. Okay? So I'm going to work one more like this. Just use the formula. So m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Don't let those subscripts, that just means the ordered pairs that are given to you. So 2 equals y2, 6 minus y1, -2, all over x minus -3. So we got to clean these up. So you have 2 equals 6 plus 2 would be 8, and over x plus 3. All right, a couple different ways you could solve it from here. You could call it a proportion by putting that over 1 and then doing the butterfly. I'm going to do that. So 8 times 1 is just 8, and 2 times x plus 3 would give me that, which means I'm going to distribute. 2 times x and 2 times 3. Take away the 6. When you divide by 2, you get x equals 1, which was the missing number. All right, that is assignment 16.